the only way to be sure.
I want you to rest well, and a month from now, this Hollywood picture is gonna give you what you want. I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Inside Your Screen, and we're talking all things Snowpiercer. We're on episode 6, Many Miles from Snowpiercer. In this episode, we are taken away from the train completely. This is a Melanie-centric episode where she goes to the research station to get her balloons up to make contacts, to put like a climate control map together. Brendan, let's dive right into it. What did you think?
I liked this episode, but at the same time, so I enjoyed the episode. Simple. I thought it was a cool episode. I liked we got a lot of flashbacks. We got a lot of reveals of things before the train.
Your flashbacks, friend. You love your flashbacks. I knew you'd love the flashbacks of this episode.
I'm obsessed with the world, the story of the world, and the history and how they got there. So I love a flashback. So I was all over the flashbacks in this. But there was a little bit of part of me that was like, did you have to dedicate a whole episode to this? And could you have just broken away from the train during episodes rather than dedicate an entire episode just to this? But I liked it.
Yeah, I think it was a bold choice to kind of have Melanie have her own centric episode. But I think the reason for them doing this was, and that we'll get into this later on, but there's obviously stuff that's been going on Snowpiercer because she's been there for a month. So she starts on her snowmobile, which I kind of thought, did she have a snowmobile when she jumped out of the train originally?
Yeah, remember when we brought that up? And I kind of remember at the time they said the sled. So I'm assuming it was something we just didn't catch, and it was something she threw off the train, you know, as she threw her other stuff, that there must have been that sled there that obviously had an engine. So yeah.
But this episode really reminded me of one of those type of like Frostpunk games where, you know, one thing after the other, she just has to kind of maintain. Like she's on a snowmobile, but then it gets stuck in the snow, so she has to drag the rest of her gear to the station. She's low on battery power. She just gets in on time. Then she has to kind of find the power. She has to put the power on. Then she has to kind of get things working. Then there's an avalanche, and so her rations are kind of taken out of the picture. So she has to make do with, you know, probably turning into a cannibal at some point, or she finds some rats. So there's this like domino effect that always happens, that you kind of feel that you get in games where there's objectives, and just as you get one objective completed, there's another one that comes up. There's more fires to put out, so to speak. So yeah, it's basically she finds the research station. She finds some dead bodies. Now these are obviously the occupants from previous that were there before the whole world kind of died a death or became the second ice age. One guy's got a bullet in his sort of head, and I kind of thought there was going to be some kind of like mystery surrounding these kind of people as well. But more so, it's kind of dealing with Melanie's manifestations. She sees you know, people that aren't there. Like she sees Wilford, and she sees Leighton, and she sees Alex. They're all like these manifestations of, you know, her thoughts and processes. And sometimes, you know, they're there to torment her, and other times they're there to kind of like pull her on. What did you think of all those elements, Brendan?
It was a bit of a mixture, because I liked the way they played it, where it was almost like at the start, I think Wilford was the first person she interacted with. And I think Wilford said something along the lines of, yeah, you're just talking to me just to kill time right now. And I liked that, the introduction of, and then, you know, obviously it was alluded to, you know, she's starving. So, you know, she's kind of losing her mind and, you know, that type of thing. But it was the kind of balance of, which is it? You know, is she actually completely losing her mind, or is she doing this to stay sane? And, you know, it's that whole kind of, you know, you need to keep your mind functioning, and obviously it's gonna be thought. So I liked the fact that, and it was just a real subtle line at the start that Wilford said, you know, are you just having I forget what the line was, but it was something.
I think it was like the air, like, is the air too thin up here, or are you? Yeah, because I was a little bit 50-50 on this to begin with, because these own self-doubts or fears made, you know, personified by these people that she knows in real life, I thought they kind of came on too quickly, because I think it's like the third day.
I'd agree with that, yeah. But that's why I liked it. That's why it is for me, you know, it was the fact that it wasn't just, there isn't an easy explanation of she's starving, so she's kind of almost like, you know, what's the word? Not hallucinating, but
Well, I suppose you could say hallucinate. Like if she's so
Delusional.
deprived of like
Delusional.
food, yeah.
Yeah, delusional, but would probably be the word. She's kind of almost like if you've got a fever, that you don't know what's real and it's all very weird and that type of thing. But they introduce the fact that this might actually be a tactic to not go delusional and to stay sane and talk.
It's a good shout actually, because this is the most, I'd say, personable episode that we've seen of Melanie. And we know, like, since before, how she's essentially taken on the mantle of Wilfred for 7 years, and she's been manipulating people and lying to people and just trying to keep order on Snowpiercer. And now she's like on her own. So you could, I suppose you could say, well, maybe this is all her insecurities now coming to the forefront, and this is how she usually deals with stuff, but she's internalized it for so long that now she's on her own. These things are getting out, so to speak, and she's dealing with that. But so in that kind of sense, we know from the previous episodes of Snowpiercer that the last balloon, the 11th balloon, didn't get connected. And we see that in this episode where the radio tower goes down and she seems to be having troubles communicating with Snowpiercer towards the end. And I know I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but I think it has to be said that so she spent a month at this research station. Mm-hmm. And with the radio going down, she has this whole kind of like, oh no, it's not going to work. But it does get sent through. But then she's trying to communicate to get picked up. She feels the kind of ground and she feels the kind of the rumbling. So she knows Snowpiercer's there. She goes out and she sees the Snowpiercer goes past, and Alex is there at the back, like slamming on the door. So maybe I'm thinking there's been some sabotage on Snowpiercer's side. And I think in the next episode, we're going to find out how that happened.
I think you're totally wrong.
Oh, okay. What do you think?
I think that's a dream.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
I genuinely thought, and the minute it ended, I was like, that final sequence, she's asleep, she's dreaming. That didn't happen.
Yeah, because I was actually thinking, would you actually be able to feel Snowpiercer as it's coming towards you, kind of thing?
There was something about the whole sequence as well, and there was something about this, and I noticed as well at the sequence, she was kind of on, when the train goes past and she's on her knees, and it's like, no, and then it's Alex in the window, no, and she keeps looking, and I stayed. The shot actually stays in the same kind of frame for quite a while, and then it's about 5 or 6 seconds later, kind of. Melanie's head slumps, and you see that because the light on her kind of suit kind of slumps as she slumps, and it was just like, this doesn't come across as real. I think that Melanie's still at the power. I think that from the moment of I can feel Snowpiercer and she leaves, that's a dream.
So do you think they've gone down that it was all a dream kind of route?
Yeah, genuinely.
Okay.
I think we might even. In the next episode, I don't think we'll see Melanie at all, but I think next time we do, it'll be Melanie waking up to see Snowpiercer on the beat, come in, Melanie, come in. Hello? Yeah, we're nearly there. Right. One of those type of things.
Okay. Maybe it's also has something to do with the rats she's been eating. Maybe they've, her little rat shish kebabs, which I took an issue with. And
I've got a few issues with this.
Okay, let me tell you my one first. So she gets on the base, she hears a rumbling, and then she goes out, and there's been an avalanche. Her rations that she had to leave some stuff with her like ski mobile. She only took the equipment she needed to get set up in the base. So she's basically her path is blocked now to get back to her rations. So she's essentially only got like a pack of crackers and some sweets. So she has to make do with a month. During this time, there's a kind of red herring where they kind of make out that one of the crackers that she had it disappears, and she's like she doesn't know whether she's eating it herself because she's maybe being a bit delusional. She finds out that basically there are rats. Now there's this like basically she does a kind of trap, and she catches one of the rats, and instead of just eating it there and then, she finds out where the rat has come from, and under the station there's this geothermal vent. That's the rats have been breeding, as in kind of Jurassic Park, life finds a way. Now, my question is, when she first came on the base, there were 3 dead bodies, and she's kind of, she's starving. She's more than happy to kill a live animal and eat it, rather than sort of pick the flesh off a dead human being and eat that. At that kind of time and present, my kind of thought of, if you were trying to survive, you would just eat the meat. You'd eat the human meat. Is it a kind
No,
of?
I'm not. That's not the part I take umbrage with at all.
Okay, I just kind of thought to myself, like, if you're starving that much, surely you would eat the meat, like you'd eat the human meat.
But she got to the stage where she didn't have to, because remember that she worked out that there was a rat, so it was like, right, I can eat the rats.
Sure, but you're killing a live animal just to sustain yourself, rather than. I mean, I know we're getting into the kind of whole meat and vegetarian and veganism and all that kind of stuff and cannibalism,
and the concept of rats is there's not one. There's lots.
There's lots, yeah. There's a supply of food that's going on there.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you take umbrage to then, Brendan?
The whole heat thing.
Oh, the geothermal.
Well, not just the geothermal thing. The geothermal thing kind of made sense. There's a pocket underneath whatever the heat. Why did they have to spend all this money building a big train when you can clearly sustain life on land?
Or like underneath the earth kind of thing.
Well, no. Melanie survives. At the very start of the episode, before Melanie powers up the station, right? The concept is that there were people alive. They ended up killing themselves because they starved or whatever. But why did you need to build a train?
I mean, I guess
she heated up the power plant, and after the station was switched on, she was walking around it without her mask, and without that, it was warm enough.
Well, she kind of powered it up with the battery cells and everything, didn't she? So...
Yeah, but that's my point. Why did you spend all this money on a train that has to go? Why didn't you just make loads of these substations? Live there.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, maybe that's an element that we'll find out in later episodes, or but it does seem to be a bit extravagant to kind of make this.
She got into a tent. Do you remember at the very start? And it was like, right, so you can live in tents.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just build a city of tents?
City of tents.
If you could, maybe is the concept of no. Well, that's not the case, because I suppose the concept of Snowpiercer is the constant movement is generating the energy to keep it going, and that maybe they couldn't do that on land. I don't know. Yeah. I'm now making up excuses for them, but I just thought the whole. It seemed too easy to live in the outside world with just a little bit of heat, and I just thought, why didn't you just build an underground bunker, a huge big bunker? You didn't need the train. It's stupid because you're showing it's not that cold.
No, it's true. I mean, we do know that it's getting warmer, so maybe that's a factor.
But still, no, because the whole concept is that these three people who were at that station obviously survived for a period of time, because one of them ended up killing themselves, so they didn't freeze to death.
Yeah, and that kind of goes to my next point as well, because this is a flashback sort of episode as well, and we get to see through Melanie's eyes what actually happened at the kind of as Snowpiercer left the dock, so to speak. Yeah. Now, I was a little bit. They didn't really show us anything we didn't already know.
It's a bit underwhelming, wasn't it?
It was a bit underwhelming. I thought they would have. I mean, you can get you find that there's this rising tension between Mr. Wilfred and Melanie before Snowpiercer's left, and that could be something that they could have used to address exactly what you said there, Brendan. They could have said something along the lines of, because they're congratulating themselves that they've put Snowpiercer together, blah blah blah. But they could have turned around and said, we've tried to kind of create these underground bunkers or these city of tents and stuff that. But we found out they couldn't work. So this is the only thing left. They could have just thrown in a line, and that could have just
it would have been as simple as that, and it would have just counteracted all my kind of picky flaws, nitpicking at it, and it could have been one line just covered all of that.
Yeah, I thought the kind of Wilfred leaving the train would have been a bit more. That seemed to me a bit anticlimactic, because we know there was something that happened, but really all it was Mr. Wilfred was going outside the train a couple of minutes before the train was meant to leave, and it was like, would he really do that? Someone who so obviously.
Would Wilfred, in my opinion, the way they've shown it, I totally agree with you as well, because what's flawed about that is they're still leaving on schedule. Yeah. So I would have thought there would have been parties going on in first class Do you know what I mean? Like, instead of everybody rushing at the last minute, it's like, no, the only real issue here is the people who eventually, the tailies coming on, the people who weren't allowed on, trying to get on, and that caused the chaos and blah, blah, blah. But I would have thought the train would have probably already been locked up, and exactly that. The kind of the grand leaving the station of Snowpiercer, and they're running around panicking. But even though they leave in kind of on schedule, but it didn't make sense. It was a bit where it made sense, but it was flawed. It wasn't.
It just to me it just seemed another way of showing Mr. Wolford's like domineering character, the way he asserts control by killing the geneticists that are outside. It didn't really showcase anything else that we didn't already know. So therefore, I thought it was a bit of padding.
Yeah, but what made that scene, and then obviously it linked then to later on in the episode, or kind of almost the mirroring of what happened later, was Jennifer Connelly making that decision to leave her daughter, and that acting. Yeah. So she was fantastic in that scene. She really did that well. And then you had the mirroring where she thought she'd failed with Alice, where she thought she'd failed with the it was almost that submission where she gave up on life and she was like, I'm sorry. And you had that. And what really made those two scenes was Jennifer Connelly's acting. It was brilliant.
Oh yeah, I mean she's a master of her craft in that respect of things. Like whenever she's on screen, I mean this episode was just her entirety, like, but everything, she was just always against the elements, literally, basically. Like she was, anytime she tried to get something set up, something else would fail, and you could see the kind of that in her face. And even when she's interacting with these delusions, if you will, or like, manifestations of, her self-doubt or anything like that, like she played it well. Like she's great at that role. And the last few episodes that she hasn't been in, I mean, the cast are stellar anyway, but there is that kind of special something there with Jennifer Connelly. So Brendan, tell us your predictions for the future episodes then, because this was episode 6. We still got a few more episodes to go. Do you think then, if this was a dream that she kind of ran down and Snowpiercer was already on its trip in its lightweight fantastic, do you think we're going to go back to Snowpiercer where we left off, or do you think we're going to be skipping ahead of time a little bit? What do you think?
No, I think we'll go back to where we left off in Snowpiercer, and I think the end of this episode, or of the next episode, will most likely be the kind of whole the Melanie scenario. Where is Melanie? I've got a funny feeling we will skip back, and then eventually it will just be that it will be they haven't had the signal. There'll be a scene, where what's the character's name?
Ed?
No.
One of the engineers, or?
No. Is it Knox? Is it Knox?
Oh, the
Ben.
Ben.
Yeah. Is that his name? Ben?
The engineer guy.
The engineer?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben. Right, sorry. But yeah, because I was looking at his name now. Yeah, it's just he's called Ben. I think at some stage, obviously, we'll still have our whole. We're gonna have to see the fallout of all the people being, all the breachmen being murdered. I think we'll pick up from there. We'll follow, but I think there will be a scene where we've got, the last balloon has gone up. They've turned around, because that's in essence is what happened in the last episode. They turned around, and it will be that moment of Ben on the radio, like, Melanie, come in, and then we'll have this my prediction of the scene of Melanie waking up, kind of in the thing, and
so we'll see a bit of Melanie and Snowpiercer on the next
I think that will be the very end. I think that's going to be the end. I think the end of the next episode will kind of be seeing whether or not Melanie's getting her ass back on that train. And as I said, with my prediction, or my feeling that final sequence in this episode was a dream. I think, that will be a bit of a revelation as well, that Melanie's alive and well and eating rats in the
Yeah,
You
a
should.
little rash shish kebab. Yeah, I hope this Cold War kind of ends now between Leighton and Wilford. There's the previous episodes have been a lot of chess piece kind of scrabbling around the board, trying to get players into position and whatnot. I kind of feel that
has only begun.
well, that's what I'm hoping. I hope the next episode is the spark, the catalyst, and then see a bit more action. Want to see, we saw the Breachman getting kind of killed off in the last episode. There's going to be consequences to that. We've got obviously Wilfred's sort of cultish sort of section of people that are staying in the shadows. Is Pastor Logan part of that? Is Bess going to actually do something with her investigative skills? I want to see some of that kind of stuff.
I actually tweeted someone out. I forget whether or not I mentioned this in our last podcast, but I get a feeling that it might be Zara, who's the rat, and in charge,
right? Yeah,
and in charge of this Wilford kind of uprising.
Coalition.
I don't trust Zara.
I don't trust Zara. I don't trust Pastor Logan.
Also, we have to highlight that.
Do we trust Ruth, though, Brendan? Do we trust Ruth?
I was just about to say one thing about this episode that clearly, I think the makers of the show, the writers of the show, need to come out and publicly apologise for.
Go on.
Is the fact that there was no Ruth in this episode.
Brendan needs to get his weekly Ruth fix. That's what he needs. At
the end of the day, when we're watching the show Snowpiercer,
yeah.
The real leader of Snowpiercer must feature at some point in the episode.
Why wasn't she one of like Melanie's manifestations? Why wasn't she a kind of
I think that says more
Spectre.
I think that says more about Melanie than anything. And I'd really like to see us go back to the original plan, which was obviously with Melanie being a traitor.
Yeah.
She must be punished.
Okay. Well, that's it, guys, for this episode. Check back with us next week, where we'll be on episode 7. Brendas, sign us out, sir.
Guys, if you want to listen to any of our podcasts, any of our shows, any of our videos, first port of call is YouTube. Just search Inside Your Screen on YouTube. Search Inside Your Screen podcast if you want the podcast, but just search Inside Your Screen. All our stuff is there. We've got all our podcasts. We've got all our Snowpiercer reviews. We've got all our bite-sized reviews. Tony's got loads of independent gaming reviews on there, movie reviews. There's all kinds of stuff, and all our videos are on YouTube. If you want to just listen to the audio, search on all your major audio podcast platforms. We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on SoundCloud, we're on all the podcast hosts. Just search Inside Your Screen. Nice and easy. And if you want to get in contact with us, we're on Twitter at Inside Your Screen with a UR, so at Inside Your Screen. Get in contact. We'd love to hear your feedback.
Inside your screen.